Welcome to a Team United International X Factor training and information session. We are Kenneth and Lisa Bristol from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The X Factor is your mindset. It is the difference maker. It is your X Factor. Enhance your mind, enhance your income. Now, today's training topic, like I said, is the last installment of the dance. And some of this may be reviewed. So take notes, learn this material. It can change your life because with this training, you will learn how to persuade, influence, and lead people to achieve their needs, wants, and desires. Then and only then will you be able to achieve your needs, wants, and desires. Now remember, change is usually painful. So hold on to why you are willing to change. Your why is your fuel. It's what moves you. If your why does not make you cry, then you need a new why. That is what Jock Johnson, one of our former mentors, taught us way back. So identify your why and hold on to it, as it will be your strength and your shield. Let's start with going through a few examples of linguistic patterns. Linguistic patterns are extremely powerful when used correctly. And here's a few examples. Have you found? And then insert a question that includes or leads to your desired outcome of the conversation. Have you found that as you think about being more successful, that the idea of using more trainings like this will escalate that success because you feel more empowered? Who can say no to that? When you word your linguistic patterns correctly, it moves your people. Have you found is just asking a question, so it's non-confrontational. Have you found that when you think about freedom, when you think about your freedom, when you think about not having a day job anymore, and that as your enthusiasm and optimism grow, you can apply that enthusiasm to the execution of the information in this exact training. Notice in this last example of have you found, we didn't just ask, have you found, did you want to do this? Nor did we say, have you found you want to learn more? What we asked was, have you found that growing sense of optimism and enthusiasm, touching into the emotional sense? People are driven by emotions, not thoughts, ideas, and actions. Those are results of emotions. So your desired outcome has to be something that will move them, something more than just an idea, and certainly more than just money. So many of us share the fact that people can make money in this industry. People can make money doing a million different things. Why do they need to make the money? How will that money change their life? And whatever answer they give you, you want to find out how that will change their life. That's the power. This is an actual conversation. Have you found that in order for you to have a successful home-based business, you have to have the skills and training that are needed and someone to provide them? The prospect replied, yes, that makes sense. I see it all over the internet. But you're in a quandary. You cannot be successful without the training. Then how are you going to get the training, and who has the time to train you? Oh, I'll buy one of those programs on the internet. Well, as you think about your security in retirement, because that's what this conversation was about, that's what the highest value was, being able to retire and not be like the baby boomers of today, deathly afraid of outliving what they've accumulated over their lifetime. So as you think about your security in retirement, which program seems like it will give you the training you need? And how do you know what training you actually do need? I don't. I'm going to have to do a bunch of research to figure it out. And I certainly can't quit my job until I do. Have you found a real urgency to accomplish something more for your family than your job will allow? And as you think about that, let me show you how you can get involved with a company that provides all the training you need to be successful. Do you think they would be open to looking at that stage of the conversation? Well, of course they would. You just gave them a solution to their problem because they know they need the training now. They've admitted it. They also admitted that they don't know where to get it. They also know there's a lot of research and time and trial and error involved. So when you offer them something that works, well, sure, they'll look. They might not get involved, but at least they'll look. And that's your goal, exposure, not closure. Now, let's go into some more linguistic patterns. They get real heavy duty. Would it be fair to say this kind of neurolinguistic pattern works simply because it's just asking them, would it be fair? And it will allow you to lead the conversation because you can insert your desired outcome or the next step in their thought process that you're helping them go through from where they are to where you need them to be mentally. So, would it be fair to say the more these trainings help you learn the skills necessary to be successful, the more eager you are to buy more trainings? Well, of course. Just suppose, same thing. It's always favorable because your prospects are not really committing to anything. They're just supposing, okay? Just suppose for a moment you've really mastered these techniques because you were willing to buy, study, and practice these trainings. And just suppose you're successful with your home-based business only because these trainings can be taught to your team. That success feels pretty good, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. I wish this could happen. Man, I pray for this to happen. Emotional movement. Now, let's go a little deeper. Multiple stacked linguistics. This is where it gets a little complicated, but it's very easy to do with practice. Multiple stacked linguistics have several parts. This one has two. What would happen if, and insert your desired outcome, because, and then insert their highest value. For example, what would happen if you bought all of these trainings and used them to build a large and profitable business because you really want to retire with a six-figure income? They can only give you a positive response. There is no negative response to that. What would happen if, and again, insert your outcome, the word because, and then insert the highest value. What would happen if you bought all of these trainings because you want to get out of debt? When you use multiple stacked linguistics, the brain automatically goes to where you need it to go. Because what would happen if takes the brain into suppose mode? You bought all of these trainings. They might say, well, I don't know, I can't afford them. Or how much are they? But they're still where you want them to be, asking questions about your training. Because, and anything that follows because is valid. So when you insert their highest value, that validity, that valid reason which they gave you, you use their words exactly, verifies or validates the fact that they need to buy all of these trainings. That's how neurolinguistic patterns work. Now, here's one that confuses many people. Don't, and then insert whatever objection you think they're going to give you. Oh, I can't afford it. Unless you want to, and then insert your desired outcome. For example, don't tell yourself they cost too much unless you want to buy this training and become a successful training machine for your team, okay? The way the brain breaks that down, now they want to buy them. It's just the way the brain works. I appreciate, insert their objection, and what would happen if, insert a new behavior that counteracts that objection, because a valid reason, probably or more likely should be based on their highest value. And I'd be willing to, and then add a concession, something you'll throw in, not like the TV commercials, I'll throw this in for free, but more of direction. I'd be willing to help you. Okay? Here's an example. First of all, let's go through the parts. The pattern has four components. You agree with the objection. People can't argue with someone who agrees with them. So I appreciate and their objection. Introduce your outcome. Let them know what you want this new behavior to be within this one sentence structure. And describe the reasoning, which is their highest value. And then give them a small concession in exchange for them agreeing to your proposal. Okay? Now, here's an example. I appreciate you wanting to save money. And what would happen if you purchased more trainings because you need these skills to be successful? I'd be willing to help you choose which trainings would give you the fastest start. Sound good? Now they're back into the decision making process. Yes, but, and if you're, then. Yes, you agree with the negative feature. Again, people cannot argue with someone that's agreeing with them. But, and then you stick a positive benefit, not a positive feature, a positive benefit, value. And if you're committed to the emotion, committed to the highest value, whatever that is they told you, then you must be committed to what I'm suggesting. So what you're doing with this is you're attaching what they said is their highest value to your proposal, to exactly what you want them to do, to your desired outcome, by stating the benefit that they're going to see. Not the feature, the benefit. And then you cement it with a commitment. You agree to the feature mentioned is negative. They cannot argue. It's an obstacle. That's what you're agreeing to. It's not so much negative as in bad. It's just negative as in obstacle. You mention a positive benefit, the result of going through the obstacle. Then you mention the commitment to that highest value that they told you, and then attach it to your proposal by telling they must be committed and follow through. An example. Well, yes, I agree that trainings require financial investment, but with them, you have the opportunity to learn the skills you need. And if you're committed to enjoying the lifestyle that comes with having a successful home based business, then you must be committed to purchasing the necessary trainings. That does make sense to you, doesn't it? Well, they'd have to agree with that. I mean, no one in their right mind is going to say, hey, I want to have a successful anything without any training at all. And if I can't get those trainings for free, then I have to pay for them. I mean, that's not a difficult thing to admit. However, what you have to do is take the brain through the decision making process where it has a positive result at the end. State your objective, your desired outcome, and then say, and I appreciate their objection, whatever it is, and then say, imagine for a moment that together, and then overcome the objection as you have done in the past. What you're doing with this one is you're taking their mind into the future and just have them visualize how this is going to turn out. So you state your desired results. You agree with the objection. You have them imagine overcoming the future obstacles as they have done before. It's not the first time they've overcome a challenge. And then you ask them, you verify that they're with you in that picture you're painting. That feels good now, doesn't it? Okay. The obstacle is someone said, I need money now. It takes too long to learn all this stuff. I want you to benefit from these trainings and be successful with your business. And I appreciate the time investment it takes to learn these new skill sets. But imagine for a moment that you learn these new skill sets by overcoming the time challenge, as you've done in the past. Doesn't that feel good to you right now? It would feel good to me. Because yes, I have overcome time challenges in the past. I've had to crunch for tests and study and get to work on time, and I made it. And you can even throw in an example. You remember when you were running late for work and you just knew you were going to be late, but somehow all the green lights lined up and bam, you were at work on time. You did not have to hear the lip from the boss. That felt good, didn't it? Well, this is the same situation. Because I want you to benefit from these trainings and be successful with your business. I appreciate the time investment it takes to learn these new skill sets. Imagine for a moment that you learn these new skill sets by overcoming that same time challenge as you've done in the past. Now tell me that doesn't feel good. Yeah, it feels good if I could do it. Now they're moving. Okay, here's some more linguistic patterns. This is my favorite. When would now be a good time? I have a very good friend named Grant. Grant is a seasoned, successful 40-year businessman. He has been the director and sat on the boards of some of the largest hotels in our country. He currently sits on 5 or 6 boards as we speak. Consummate businessman. And he was brought to Lisa and I as a prospect of another person. And he asked a lot of questions, a lot of pointed questions. Questions like, why should I be in business with you? Tell me a little bit about you, Kenneth and Lisa. Things like that. And after our entire conversation, he said, well, I need to think about it. And I said, fantastic. Thinking is a good thing. And he left and he booked another appointment, came back and asked more questions. At which time I asked him, when would now be a good time? He laughed and very loudly, and he said, I have to admit, that's a very good question. Let's do it. When would now be a good time is not closing them right now. You're asking them, when will right now be good? When would now be a good time to get started on the training you need to be successful with your home-based business? You tell me. Oh, well, I'm going to do that later. I'm going to get to it and I'm going to book this. I'm going to book some coaching. I'm going to book some training. I'm going to hand out the flyers. I'm going to get started. Well, when will now be a good time? And then listen to the quiet on the phone. You'll hear crickets and then you'll hear laughter. Now, the word because historically has always given validity to whatever follows it. Whatever comes behind because is gospel. Same thing with the word but. Whatever comes before the word but is just gibberish. It's the excuse. Soon as they say but, that's the part that you need to pay attention to because that is the part that is important to the speaker. Because everything after, but everything before. Whatever follows the word because is a validation of the sentence, actually. You need to purchase this training because it is how you are going to help your people obtain their freedom. You need to attend this training because you need the information that the training is going to provide. You need to be successful with your home-based business because you want to get out of debt. Because is such a powerful word and people have no idea why they're moved over a simple little sentence. And it's because of the linguistic patterns in the sentence. And because is one of the most powerful words. Now, here's some combinations. They're very simple to use. The more you and insert your statement, the more you insert your statement. The more you X, the more you why. The more you listen to this training, the more you want to practice these lessons. True? Of course they're going to say yes, as long as you're paying attention to their highest value. The more you X, the less you Y. It's the same as an if then. This is a regular XY, standard XY. The more you listen to this training, the less you want to be without these lessons, right? I know I do. When I get off of these trainings, I'm so fired up and excited. The first thing I want is a copy of the recording. The more you listen to this training, the less you want to be without these lessons, right? And always in the form of a question. The sooner you X, the quicker you Y. This is how you move people. The faster you X, the safer you Y. Now you're talking to their highest criteria. The more you X, the faster you Y. Now you're using their language exactly. Do you want X or Y? Typical alternate close. You're not saying, do you want to join or not? You're saying, do you want to join at the low level or the high level? Alternate close. Now, nominalizations are very complex. However, it's only complex until we understand them. The human mind likes to simplify things. We take the entire decision-making process and make it into a thing, a noun, a decision. We take the entire process. Now think about this. The process of making a decision, the research, the due diligence, the feelings, the finances, the time. It's all these things that we factor into our decision-making process, and we boil it down to this one little thing we call a decision. Every time someone does this, they are taking away the decision-making process. However, with nominalizations, you can turn a decision back into deciding. You can put them back into the decision-making process where you can affect the outcome. Likewise, you can turn the deciding into a decision, into a conclusion. For example, you can take someone who has already made a decision that you didn't like and take them back into the decision making process, have them really think about their highest value, have them really consider their options, and then by taking them back into the decision making process, you may be able to change the decision now. We all do this every day. I'll give you a real simple example. How many times can you remember someone asking you, do you want sugar in your coffee? Do you want to drive? Do you want to go to this restaurant or that restaurant? And once you made your decision, no, I don't want to drive. How many times has somebody said, are you sure? All that is taking you back into the decision making process. Are you sure? You know how you like to drive? Well, you're right. I'm in the mood. I'll drive. And then you changed your mind. This is the same thing. We're just doing it on a business level. Also, when people are deciding, we call it, in America, we call it hemming and hawing around. Oh, I'm still thinking about it. I'm considering, I'm checking on it. I'll get back with you next week. I'll talk to you on Monday. Oh, I was busy on Monday. Let's get together Thursday. They're constantly in the process of deciding. Well, you can easily bring that to a conclusion and help them make a decision, yes or no, right now using nominalizations. Now, let's say someone is deciding whether or not to join your team. You can bring that process to a conclusion by saying something like, what information would you need to decide to join now? So it's either join now or tell me what you need to make that decision. To join or not to join, either way. On the other hand, let's say they have decided not to join your team. You can take that person back into the process of deciding where they are open to suggestion by asking them something like this. How did you go about deciding that? Well, I thought about how much time it would take and da 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 da. Well, how much time do you think it would take? Well, I know it's going to be like a second job. Well, what if there were a team of people that did the hard work for you? What if somebody's already made the videos? What if somebody's already made the trainings? What if somebody else does the presentation? What if somebody else motivates your people? What if somebody else encourages your people, trains your people? What exactly would you need to do that requires a lot of time? Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. I'm saying you can take them back into the decision making process where you can affect the outcome. As a general rule, any verb that you put TION, SION, or IZE on the back of it can be a nominalization. Nominalizations are the most powerful in combinations of three or more. To decide is a decision. See the SION on the end of it? So if somebody says to you something, decide, you know you can make a nominalization out of that by adding something to the end. To experiencing, well, that's the experience. To experience an elevation of my game, to experience success, to experience becomes the experience. Now, that's one of those that is not TION, SION, or IZE. You just change the to a the. To communicate, a or the communication. To function, a function or the function of. To close, the close. To grow, growth. To accept, acceptance. To realize, realization. To doubt, a doubt. To choose, a choice. These are some examples of how you take a to and bring it to a or the. And don't forget anything that adds TION, SION, or IZE. Now, to get the full benefit of nominalizations, make an infinitive verb: to be, to run, to win, to succeed, the whole left side of the list. Make those your desired outcome. Okay? For example, tell me more about the doubts you have about your ability to make a commitment in yourself. Shed some light on the doubts you're having about your ability to build this business. They will tell you. Now, those are the simple nominalizations. Let's construct some nominalization chains. This is where we link them together to get the power, three or more. Start with a nominalization and connect it with one of these words: of, about, or how. Precede the next nominalization with either you or the. Finish with an infinitive verb as your outcome. Here's an example. Now, just to give you the setup, you add your nominalization of, about, or how, backed by you or the, then your nominalization, then an infinitive verb. Or you can flip it around. Either way. I hope you begin to appreciate your acceptance of, your eagerness to learn these trainings. Now, here's how it sounds in normal speak. I hope you begin to appreciate your acceptance of your eagerness to learn these trainings. Oh, what are they going to say? No. The brain can't. I hope you begin, because it's not a yes or no, guys. We're saying we hope you begin. We hope you begin to appreciate your acceptance of your eagerness to learn these trainings. The way that sentence is set up now, they want more training. They don't know why, but they do. Now, pacing and leading. This is a very powerful process that lets you give a series of commands or suggestions in such a manner that they are easily accepted. A pace is anything that is true, that cannot be argued. It's a fact. A lead is a suggestion, command, or your outcome. So we're going to use the terminology fact and command as a pace and lead in this example. For your commands, suggestions, or outcomes to be readily accepted and eagerly acted upon, they must be delivered in a gradual manner. People have to be able to understand it and wrap their brain around it, grasp it, hold it, implement it, and want to use it. So fact, 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 command, or suggestion. You give them some facts, some valid reasons that cannot be argued with, and then you give them a suggestion. Fact, fact, command. 3 facts, a command. 2 facts, a command. 1 fact, a command. And then command, command, command. Here's an example. As a participant of this training, you've been looking at many words. You've been reading many words. And you have probably noticed this is a very powerful training. Parts of this training are easy to understand. Some parts, like nominalizations, may seem advanced. Every part of this training is very powerful when used properly. There is a lot of information in this training to incorporate. It's easy to see how this training can help you build a successful business. Take your time, learn each skill, then teach them to your team, as duplication is the key to exponential growth. Sounds pretty normal sentence. As a participant of this training, that's a fact. You're here. You've been looking at many words. That's a fact. You're still looking at it now. You've been reading words. You're reading them now. That's a fact. And you have probably noticed this is a very powerful training. That's my suggestion. Parts of this training are easy to understand. That's a fact. Everybody understands the word because. Some parts, like nominalizations, may seem advanced. Simply adding the word may made it a fact because it could be possible. Every part of this training is very powerful when used properly. That's my suggestion. There is a lot of information in this training to incorporate. This is the 4th installment of this training. So yes, that's a fact. It's easy to see how this training can help you build a successful business. That's my suggestion. Now here's the 3 suggestions. Take your time, learn each skill set, and teach them to your team. And then I just throw a validation in there. Duplication is the key to exponential growth, which is another command in itself. But when you deliver this in a sentence, in a conversation, it doesn't come out broken and chopped. It flows very well. Nominalizations in 3 or more, easily and gradually delivered, is just huge. Now, logically speaking, default logic words like because, therefore, all of that leads to, this also causes, justifies, validates, all these words, people tend to agree with whatever follows behind them. They're conditioned to. All that leads to, and we're sitting on our edge of our seat waiting for what it leads to. Being where you are and learning this training is similar to learning something that is very exciting, because you know it's new and you know it's powerful, and all that of that is justified by the fact that you can be successful and create a great deal of enthusiasm with your team. You'll notice that in doing that, it logically helps other people duplicate what you do, which naturally is what you'll be looking for anyway, because it just makes sense, right? Now, come on, somebody tell me they can truly, honestly just say no to that. Of course the answer is going to be yes. There's too many nominalizations and default logic words put into a chain and delivered gradually for somebody to say no to that. This paragraph may seem long and unorganized, but when you're in conversation with someone and you have properly built rapport with them, they'll just agree with a lot of things you say. Why? Because. Future pacing. This is fun. Future pacing is a very powerful process that incorporates the sensation of going back and forth in time, from present to future and back to present. It is a euphoric feeling that allows your client or customer to enjoy the decision they are making today, but enjoy it in the future, in their mind, right now in the present. His technique is akin to dream building. You help your prospect see the result of the decision they made today as it will look in the future by painting a very descriptive and vivid picture. Here's an example. Miss Jones, you have indicated that you want to create extra income before you retire in 3 years and be able to stay home with your grandchildren. Okay, there's your highest value. Before you make any enjoyable decisions, let me ask you to take a moment and imagine yourself sitting with your grandchildren. Okay, now you're putting them in the picture of their highest value, playing with them, watching them take their first steps and saying their first words. That's the emotional. Notice what you say to yourself as all of you are laughing and having a fun time together. As you get the feeling of that, go back to when you made the decision, which is right now, to get and create that residual income. Like I said, that's right now. Do you like the choice you made to run with this team? Well, heck yeah. Who wouldn't? Miss Jones, you've indicated that you want to create extra income before you retire in 3 years and be able to stay home with your grandchildren. Before you make any enjoyable decisions, let me ask you to take a moment and imagine yourself sitting with your grandchildren, playing with them, watching them take their first steps, and saying their first words. Notice what you say to yourself as all of you are laughing and having a fun time together. And as you get the feeling of that, go back to when you made the decision to create that residual income, which is now. Do you like the choice you made to run with this team? Of course. Child's play. Now, a lot of people talk about mind reading or they associate mind reading with NLP. And it's not really true. It's not really mind reading. What it is you assume what someone may be thinking and then you suggest it to them. You're not mind reading per se. You're planting the thought and then telling them that they're having the thought. Now, understand, we reap what we sow. Now, here's an example. You're obviously listening to this training. You're thinking about how incredibly powerful it is to be able to apply every one of these tools in your everyday life. As you're thinking about that, one of the things that can easily come to mind is that as you listen to this training, as you practice the techniques, and you begin to see the power that each of these concepts have, it's easy to just begin to notice yourself thinking, this stuff is truly powerful. This material has a great deal of potential and energy to it. We all have inadvertently done this at one time or another. I bet you're thinking so and so said such and such. Be careful when you use this. This is a very powerful tool. So I repeat, be very careful when placing thoughts in people's minds that you only suggest thoughts you want people to have. It comes back. I cannot explain it in this particular training, but when you use this technique, it does come back to you immediately because you're planting what you want to come back to you through that person. Now, the loss performative is a statement that describes a judgment, belief, or standard without the authority or justification for the statement itself. Just ask according to whom. For example, it's the latest fashion, or everyone loves this, or you hear this every day, perfect timing, or smart people join this team, or successful people believe this. You've heard all of these before. Well, yeah, according to whom? Who said that? This pattern works best when you provide three things that are true facts in front of it. You were told about this training or saw this training on the internet. That's a fact. You've come across this training somehow. Well, that's a fact, even if you were invited. You are listening to this training right now. Well, you wouldn't be hearing it if you weren't. And you have found one of the most powerful and profitable trainings that you will ever purchase. Now, normal speed. You were told about this training or saw this training on the internet. You've come across this training somehow. You are listening to this training right now, and you have found one of the most powerful and profitable trainings that you will ever purchase. Notice you have found is in there. That's combining linguistic patterns, and the more you have the ability to combine, the more powerful they become. Cause and effect. If X, then Y. This is one of the easiest and most graceful language patterns because it's based on default logic. However, you've used these already. If you help me move, I'll buy pizza. If you come pick me up and take me to the store, I'll give you gas money. We've all done this before. This is just being purposeful. And as with all language patterns, this one relies heavily on the level of rapport. If you buy this training and practice it, then you will have much success. It's just an if then. Or if you just learn a few new skills, then you will improve your odds of success. Some of the more common cause and effect words and phrases are because, causes, kindles, creates, generates, leads to, results in. Continuing this training will result in you having information overload. Notice I didn't say the word if and I did not say the word then, but it's still an if then statement. If you continue this training, then you will result in having information overload. Which is why we will conclude here. And I want to thank the many thousands of hours of books and videos and trainings and mentorship that Lisa and I have experienced over our last 15 years that went into this training. I apologize for the typos. This was a very, very long training. It's a 16-hour series. That's why we broke it up into 4 different videos. You don't need to learn everything in these trainings. However, the more you learn, the more influential you will be. If you really want to achieve your goals and have all your dreams come true, then you're going to have to fight for them because people, including yourself sometimes, are trying to steal them from you. Thank you for attending this Team United International X Factor and Training and Information session. Dominate the day.